Oh yeah. Oh. It's very delicious.
I like how I have the A 片 soundtrack of Lao Chen watching me eat. 你好 A 片导演啊
Yes.
Hello, everybody. We're gonna make some staff meal today. Sorry I've been away for so long. It's not that I don't want to make English content, it's just that for the longest time it wasn't fucking worth the effort. But I'm bored, so we're gonna try it again. 今儿陪你们做馄饨 or 云吞 or 抄手. Pretty much every version in China has their own nasty, random nonsense name for the little parcel of dough filled with vague meat or vegetable floating in a broth. Ravioli on brodo. Let's talk about what we've done before the camera started rolling. We've done a bunch of things. We've made a dough, we've made the filling, we've made kan sui, which is the white person way of pronouncing 碱水, or if you're from where I'm from in the north, 碱面, is sodium carbonate. It is a pretty alkali powder, around the pH of 11, that we use in Asia to make many, many dough foods, most popular of which would be ramen in Japan. It gives your dough a springy plasticity without it feeling raw and elastic. If you can't buy kan sui, or sodium carbonate, you can make it yourself with sodium bicarbonate, baking soda for my North American viewers. And what you do is you put it into a baking tray and at about 120 to 150 degrees bake for roughly an hour until you visibly see the baking soda has become less, the pH will have risen. All right, now, when you want to make a dough with kan sui, in the context of wontons, you want a concentration of roughly 0.5%. So in my dough, using 500 grams of bread flour or strong flour, I've added 2.5 grams of kan sui, or sodium carbonate. I haven't used the sodium carbonate I've made, I've just used edible alkaline flour because I live in China, where this is easily purchasable and brought to my door within 25 minutes, and I don't have to live like a caveman. I'm in Shenzhen, where it feels like a sweaty fat guy hugging you all the time, so I used only 45% hydration. If you are from a very dry place, feel free to use all the way up to 50. You want a nice stiff dough, right? And then you knead it on medium speed for about 5 minutes until you end up with a slightly pale yellow mess, like this. As you can see, and as you can smell, it smells like wonton skins. And this is the dough that you want. You can wrap this up, let it rest, and then roll it out with a rolling machine and cut it down with ring cutters or slice it into squares, depending on you. You don't have to worry about pre-rolling it. Just send it in as a mess, like a shaggy mess, and it'll come out looking like this, right? Which is fine. You just fold it up and send it in again. Just folding and laminating, as my chefs would have told me, is essentially a form of kneading, and it makes your dough stretchier and smoother. And kneading dough is just like brushing hair. When it gets smooth, it gets more strong, right? So after a few passes, you can tell it's getting smoother and sexier, and you just keep on going. And as you can tell, I haven't really added any flour. 碱水, the kan sui, it makes it really, really pliable and easy to work with. And from here, you just put it on your board and knock it down into the shape that you want. This is highly impractical. I'm not saying that anybody should do this, because I definitely don't. I think it's nonsense for you to make your own wonton skins, because if you actually live in China, like we do, or actually no, if you live anywhere where Asians live, which is most places on Earth, there should be a place where you can just buy wonton skins ready-made. They're easier, they're more stable, they won't taste worse. It's the same ingredients. You just look, see? Flour, water, salt, 碳酸钠, which is sodium carbonate. I don't know, unless you think doing this will get you laid. Yeah, like, I don't know, maybe there's like one person you're really trying to impress. It's like, hey, babe, I learned some culinary techniques from the Orient. Watch me make these wonton skins. They're the exact same. Exactly the same. The only real difference is mine are thicker, which is not good, because what you want with a wonton skin is a very, very thin, paper thin, see your finger through the back thickness, yeah? Or if you're really dedicated to trying it with your own pasta roller, the thinnest setting you have. Now, the filling. So depending on where you're from, the most traditional way to make a filling, as is the case with most traditional Asian foods, is to bitch violently and constantly about what the traditional way of making something is. That is the most important part of Chinese cookery, is bitching about tradition. In Shanghai, you make it with 1, 2, and 3. In Wuhan, you make it with 4, 5, and 6. In Fujian, you make it with 7, 8, 9. In Dongbei, you don't eat馄饨. And in Canton, where they don't actually cook, they're just unhappy with everything you do. 不觉得吗？广东人做饭其实做的挺少的，但是最会做饭的人都是广东人。
家常都会做，只是没那么复杂。
对啊，你们在家会包馄饨吗？
包。
See, but the Cantonese love to tell you how to do it properly. Hey, that's not how you do that. Or fried rice bad. Or Jamie Oliver. The second step after you finish bitching is season your meat. So in here, I have ground pork, the green parts of scallions, and I have congjiang shui. Congjiang shui is a very intelligent way of seasoning your meat that you can use if you're on a tight budget, as well as if you want to add maximum flavor in a very subtle way. So you take the white parts of leeks, Chinese leeks if you can find them, and smash up some ginger. Get some salt in there to get the juices out, top it up with water, and scrunch it till it's a very flavorful raw veggie broth. And you strain that water into your meat as you're mixing it. You can do it by hand with chopsticks or in a stand mixer, up to you. And the other seasonings here are white pepper, chicken bouillon powder, with the aforementioned salt. And I also put in oyster sauce, normal soy sauce, and some Maggi seasoning. After you put all your ingredients in, just beat them until the water disappears, and you have your filling. Now, when it comes time to fill them, you have many options. The one that I'm doing right now is one of the slightly more classic ones, where you just wet the sides, put a little bit of filling in the middle. The meat should take up no more than maximum 1/4 of the surface area of your wrapper. So corner to corner, and then a little bit of water on the corner as well, and fold the corners together, pinchy pinch, and you're good to go. I've also seen a bunch of other shapes. One has 1 ear, one has 2 ears, tortellini, right? But, and I mean this seriously, if you cannot be bothered to do those shapes, it would be perfectly acceptable for you to just put some meat into your wrapper and scrunch it up. And this would be absolutely fine. If you really want, you can even roll it up like this, right? And make a little candy, right? Make a tapai. Who gives a shit? It's fine. I do wonder why most of the internet is populated almost entirely by Cantonese and Southern Chinese content makers. The only person I can really think of, Gao Jie. I don't know where she's from, but she's not Cantonese. John Kung, he's from the South. Lucas Sin is definitely from the South. Nigel Ng, or Uncle Roger, is not Chinese. So, you know, I wonder why there's like a vacuum of completely and absolutely Northern people. And also another thing that is kind of sad. I prefer Northern polite and Northern manners over Southern manners. In the South, the polite thing to call a stranger is 先生,小姐. 对不对？这是礼貌的称呼嘛，对陌生人，陈生、某生。I don't like that because I didn't grow up like that. In the North, like when you get closer, Southern people might say 叔叔、阿姨, which is pretty ubiquitous around the whole country, which is why there exists an Uncle Roger, Roger 叔叔. But in the North, strangers you call them 哥, brother, 姐, sister, because you don't know how old they are. Don't call them uncle. It's 辈分. It's a hierarchical thing, right? But also, we use more terms of family. 哥、姐、弟、妹儿、婶儿. Our manners are very, very different. I would say that Northerners, slightly more depressed people, but warmer people. The proper way to serve is in a broth. I would prefer that my broth have seaweed in it and strips of egg and pickled vegetables. That's how my grandpa would have served wontons to my mom and I when I was a very, very little one. So this you can buy in any Asian greengrocers. It is cheap as chips. It's also a really cheap form of protein. Just sneak it in. Now, egg garnish is as simple as beating 2 eggs with a seasoning of your choice. I like a little bit of salt, but you can put white pepper in there, cooking oil in there. It's up to you. So what I usually do is I just salt the egg, beat it up, and then in a wok, a rip-roaring hot wok, spin and cook at the same time. On maximum heat, turn your wok or your frying pan and lay it out flat until you get a nice, thin sheet of egg, just like this. Feel free to give this a lot of heat. You want a little bit of browning on the eggs. Almost you want that weird sulfury taste because by itself it feels weird, but in the context of a soupy broth with your wontons, trust me, it's an unmissable flavoring component. Cooking is as easy as just dropping them in the water. And the best part about this is they're very, very hard to overcook. These skins, because of the kan sui, or 碱面,碱水, they'll always maintain a little bit of elasticity. And it's okay to overcook. Most Asian foods are, generally speaking, more overcooked than Western foods, on the whole. We like our doughs quite soft and tender. And then, generally speaking, if you're from a good family, you will turn this into a soup. Serve your wontons in a pork bone broth. But because My mom and my grandpa tried their best to raise me right. I still take my shortcuts, which is a stock pot. Feel free to use that. Absolutely fine. And garnish with a little bit of scallion on the very edge. Some of your little eggy strips. And you have a beautiful bowl of wontons. This is how I would have served it, my mom would have served it, my grandpa would have served it, how the river people would have served it. If you're from the Midlands, where the spicy food is, you might put some red chili oil on that. But honestly, I think this is a much easier way to have a larger amount. I think chili oil is painkillers. They work, but don't use them all the time. Asian flavors are like the TikTok of flavors. It's quick, easy, and it'll scratch your itch. But you still have to be responsible with your content consumption. Sorry if today's a little bit messy. I'm out of practice, but thank you for joining us on this, one of my favorite foods, a bowl of soupy wontons. Give me some ideas as to what content you would like to see in fully English. Hello again, guys. It's so good to see you. Talk often, talk soon, and take care. Bye-bye.